3 days before a plant swap I had been looking forward to for months, I walked into my kitchen and looked at the row of little glass jars lined up along the windowsill. 6 spider plant babies I had been rooting for weeks specifically to bring and trade with people, and every single one of them looked exactly the same as the day I first cut them off the mother plant. No roots, not even the beginning of a root. Just these little plantlets sitting in slightly cloudy water, looking healthy on top, but doing absolutely nothing underneath, their little curled leaves still perky and green as if nothing at all was wrong. I remember picking one up out of its jar and just staring at the bare, pale base where roots should have been forming, genuinely confused because everything I had read online made this sound like the easiest plant propagation that exists. Spider plants are supposed to be nearly foolproof. The plant every beginner gets recommended specifically because it practically roots itself. And yet here I was, 3 days from swap, about to show up with nothing but a story about babies that refused to root, and honestly a little embarrassed about it since I had told several people at the last swap that I would be bringing a whole batch this time. If you have ever had spider plant babies sit in water or soil for weeks without ever growing a single root, I want you to know that is not a sign you are bad at propagating plants. Spider plants really are one of the easier plants to root, which is exactly why it feels so confusing and honestly a little embarrassing when it does not work. The truth is, almost everyone who tries this runs into the exact same invisible problem at least once. And once you understand what it actually is, it becomes very easy to avoid. I want to say that again because I think it matters. This is not about your hands or your patience or some special skill other people seem to have that you do not. It is almost always one specific, correctable thing happening quietly in the water itself, completely invisible unless you know exactly what you are looking for. I had propagated other plants successfully before this, so it was not a lack of general experience either, which is honestly what made the whole situation so confusing until I actually understood what was going wrong. If anything, that made it more frustrating because I kept assuming I was doing everything the same way I always had. Here is what I eventually learned, digging through forums and gardening books the night before that swap. Genuinely panicked. When you snip a spiderette off the mother plant, that cut end is an open wound, no different from a scrape on your own skin. In a healthy propagation, that wound needs a few days to callus over, forming a thin protective layer before the plant can safely start pushing out roots from the same area. The problem is that open wound is also sitting in water, which is a perfect environment for bacteria and mild fungal growth to take hold before the callus is time to form. In a lot of cases, and this was definitely happening in my jars, the cutting is not actually failing to root because it lacks the ability. It is failing because a low-level infection is quietly beating the roots to the punch, using up the plant's energy just to hold the infection off instead of letting it commit to growing something new. And the frustrating part is that this kind of low-grade rut does not always look dramatic. My cuttings were not turning black or mushy. They just sat there, pale and stalled, looking sort of fine and sort of not, which is exactly why I had no idea anything was actually wrong. It is the plant equivalent of a wound that never quite gets a chance to heal because it keeps getting reopened before it can close, over and over, week after week, without ever visibly getting worse enough to raise an alarm. What made this even harder to catch is that spider plant babies are so resilient in general. They can survive on almost nothing for a surprisingly long time, which meant mine were happily sitting there staying green and healthy looking while this quiet standoff between infection and root growth played out completely invisibly, week after week, with no outward sign that anything needed to change. If you want more real propagation fixes like this one, hit subscribe because I put a new video out every single week, and most of them start with me figuring something out under way more time pressure than I would like. Now here is the mistake I had been making for those entire few weeks, and I think is honestly the single biggest reason spider plant propagation fails for most people. I've been treating those jars the same way I treat a vase of cut flowers, filling them once and just topping off the water level whenever it got low, assuming that as long as there was water in the jar, the cutting was fine. That is exactly backward. Standing water that never gets refreshed becomes an increasingly hospitable environment for bacteria the longer it sits. And every single day I left that water untouched was another day giving the infection more time to establish itself around the cut end, actively working against the very thing I was trying to encourage. I thought I was being patient. I was actually just letting the problem get worse in slow motion, refilling a swamp instead of ever actually draining it. Looking back at those jars that night, some of the water had gone slightly filmy on the surface, something I had noticed in passing weeks earlier and genuinely dismissed as nothing, just assuming it was dust or minerals from the tap. It was not nothing. That film was very likely the exact bacterial buildup that had been quietly working against every single cutting the entire time, sitting right there in plain sight the whole time. I kept topping off the water and telling myself everything just needed a little more patience, when what it actually needed was a completely fresh start. Once I understood that, I went looking for something that could protect that cut end while it calloused, and I found the answer sitting in my own pantry. Raw honey. Honey has genuinely low moisture content and natural enzymes that give it real antibacterial and antifungal properties, which is exactly why it has been used for centuries, even in wound care for people, long before modern antiseptics existed. Home propagators have used diluted raw honey for a long time as a gentler alternative to synthetic rooting hormone, not because it forces roots to grow the way a hormone treatment does, but because it protects that vulnerable cut surface from exactly the kind of infection that had been sabotaging my cuttings the whole time. What I found genuinely reassuring, reading about this at close to midnight with a plant swap looming, was that this was not some random internet trick with zero backing. The antibacterial mechanism in honey is well documented, and using it on a plant cutting is really just applying the same basic principle people have relied on for wound care for a very long time, just scaled down for a much smaller, much greener patient. I also considered cinnamon, which I had read about for other kinds of cuttings, but honey seemed like the better fit here, specifically because it forms a light, slightly sticky coating that stays put in water far better than a dry powder would, which matters a lot when the entire cut end is going to be submerged. Here is exactly what I did that night, with the swap only 3 days away and honestly not much hope left. I took each cutting out of its jar, dumped out that stagnant, slightly cloudy water completely, and rinsed the base of every spiderette under clean running water to remove whatever bacterial film had built up on the cut surface, running my thumb gently along the base to make sure nothing slimy was still clinging to it. Then I dipped just the very tip of the cut end into a small dish of raw honey, making sure it was lightly and evenly coated all the way around, not dripping in it, just coated. I placed each one back into its own jar, but this time filled with completely fresh water, labeling each jar with a little piece of tape and the date, mostly so I would actually remember when I had last changed the water instead of relying on memory the way I had been doing before. The part that actually mattered just as much as the honey itself was what I did after that. I started changing the water completely every 3 to 4 days instead of just topping it off, and every single time I changed it, I re-dipped the cut end in a fresh bit of honey before placing it back in the jar. That consistency is genuinely what makes this work. A single honey dip on day 1 does nothing if the water sits stagnant and reinfected for the next 3 weeks. I also moved the jars off the kitchen windowsill, where they had been getting harsh, direct afternoon sun, and into a spot with bright but indirect light instead, since direct sun on a jar of water can actually stress a rootless cutting that has no roots yet to pull up extra water to compensate. One more thing I changed almost as an experiment, since I was already elbow deep in this project at midnight. I had read somewhere that roots naturally grow away from light, and that clear glass jars, as pretty as they look on a windowsill, might actually be working against the cuttings by exposing that root zone to constant light instead of the dark soil-like environment roots evolved to grow into. So I switched 2 of the 6 jars into plain ceramic mugs I had sitting in the cupboard, keeping the water level the same, but blocking out the light around the base entirely, just to see if it made a difference. I want to be honest that I was not fully convinced this would matter, but by the end of it, it genuinely seemed to. It is a small enough change that there is no real downside to trying it, even if the effect ends up being smaller than what I saw with my own 6 jars, and it costs nothing beyond digging an old mug out of the back of a cupboard. So here is what you should actually be watching for, because I want you to know precisely what progress looks like instead of just hoping. Around the 7 to 10 day mark, gently tug on the cutting, just a very light pull, not a yank. If you feel even slight resistance, something is anchoring it in the water or soil, and that resistance is the very first sign of roots forming, even before you could see them. For me, the 2 cuttings in the opaque mug showed that first resistance around day 8, a full 2 days before the ones still sitting in the clear glass jars. By day 10, all 6 had at least the beginning of pale, thread-like roots visible at the base, and by the morning of the swap itself, 3 days later than I would have liked, but just in time, every single one had roots long enough that I felt genuinely proud carrying them into that room instead of walking in with an apology. I even ended up explaining the whole honey trick to 3 different people that day, which honestly felt like a better story to bring than perfectly rooted plants would have been on their own, and 2 of them messaged me weeks later saying it had worked on their own stalled cuttings too. If your spider plant babies start rooting after trying this, I would love to know. Come back to this video and leave a comment that says my spiderettes are rooting, because I read every single one, and there is nothing quite like hearing that a fix I found in a moment of genuine panic ended up actually helping someone else too, especially when it started with me feeling like I had failed at something that was supposed to be easy. If this helped you out, hit subscribe so you catch what is coming next, because next week I'm telling you about a jade plant cutting that turned black and mushy within 2 days of me taking it, and the one step I had been skipping the entire time without even realizing it mattered.